morning, good afternoon, good evening. I've come across a quotation from Bishop Hassan Kokah of Nigeria. He is a Catholic bishop and an intellectual in his own right. I think what the comment he made here is interesting, is worth looking at more closely. What he's basically saying here is Africa's education system has surprising outcomes. The smartest students pass with first class, get admission to medical school and engineering schools. And then the students with second class pass rates get MBAs and LLBs to manage the first class students. The third class students enter politics and rule both first and second class students. Failures enter the underworld of crime and control the politicians and business. And the best of all, those who don't attend school become prophets and everyone follow them. I think there's some truth in what he's saying here. What do you think, Ben?
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. I wouldn't go as to say, the educational system is the one with the problem. I mean, I would like to start from what Kwame Nkrumah said. He said, "Seek ye first the political kingdom, and everything else will be okay. We'll find balance." We are out of balance. We are out of sync with what we are seeing with all the other democratic countries. Our politics is rotten. This is why I'll give you an example. Mr. Maponga, one day, one time he was having, a discussion on air, and he said, "How is it that you come to be a minister, and you're not a millionaire, and then the moment you enter this, you become a millionaire, and your nearest or surrounding connections all of a sudden turn to be millionaires?" And then again, I'll give you another example where you find I think it was a telephone conversation between Chivayo and the since arrested two cronies, Mike Chimombe, I forgot the other guy, where they were discussing some transactions and bragging about, these so-called transactions and the amounts of monies that they will be making. This shows you that there is something wrong with our politics. It's not the education that is the problem. I believe education is the right path for anyone that is aspiring, to be independent and to fare well. Of course, sometimes education, doesn't matter, but look at the probability of that happening. Again, I say, my point is, it's not the education that is the problem. Our biggest problem is that our politics does not nurture this the proper balance.
Well, I'll agree with you there that the education system um, is not really to blame, because we have got a country like Zimbabwe whose education system was really geared on the European system, the British system. And Zimbabwe, I think, of all the countries in Africa, or most of the countries in Africa, did have a well-educated populace at the time of our independence, better than other countries. Notably, say, for instance, Botswana and South Africa. And yet, those two countries have managed to emerge with a better political system than we have done. So education is not entirely to blame. I think for Zimbabwe in particular, we have had the misfortune of having the wrong founding fathers. Men and women with no vision. And when you have people like that, you're in trouble. We've discussed on this program before that one of the problems we had was that during our struggle for independence, we forgot to ask a very pertinent question, which other countries did ask before they decided to go on to have an armed struggle. Question should have been, what kind of leaders would an armed struggle throw up? And the follow-up question is, would those be the kind of men and women who would want to lead the country? I think in Zimbabwe, we did not ask those pertinent questions, much less find a way out. Some countries did, and that is why they did not put so much emphasis on the armed struggle. In Zimbabwe, we did not. And they threw up the worst kind of leader you could ever want. The kind of individuals who believed that they have the divine right to rule. That has been at the heart of Zimbabwe's political and economic failure. We found ourselves stuck with individuals who believed they have the divine right to rule by virtue that they spearheaded the country's independence. That would be my analysis of that problem.
And I would say, to crown it off, leadership has decided to surround themselves with less educated, less motivated, and less driven people, because they are afraid, they might end up being overtaken. I mean, let's look back at Mugabe, during his presidency. you could see he surrounded himself with people that were less educated than him. And with that, results will show. I forgot this country where, when the president came in, his first order of business was, get me the brilliant minds. Let me surround myself with those. And guess what? The country thrived. Zimbabwe, once she got the independence, Mugabe took over. He took everybody that was around him that really did not have the merit to run the show. And this now has become our way of doing things. You find, I remember, my late father was joking one day. He says, NRZ now, if the CEO's father or mother passes away or relative passes away, we have to close down the entire organization because everybody has to go and attend the funeral because they're related. So it is no longer about merit. It's now about, who do you know? Who's your people? Who are you connected with? You know, if you have that kind of imbalance, no matter how educated you are, you will be frowned upon. I mean, Zimbabwe is a country that has, thousands, if not millions, of ghost workers. It's obvious these people are working for government, but they're not qualified. Otherwise, they would have taken the right channels. But then you find out that the educated, the guys that have just got their degrees, are selling in the streets, are seated on bridges, are playing pool tournaments just to try and make a living. That is an imbalance. And once you have a society that is imbalanced like that, where now you have the less qualified leading, the qualified, I mean, it's disaster straight away. And then to crown it off again, because now we're a failed state because of our political system. We now have all these here pastors that are promising, heavens. And obviously, people in their desperation will cling on to straws just to save themselves. So Zimbabwe is a damaged country. That's how I can analyze it. We are damaged because we got a serious imbalance.
I think after identifying the problem with the political leaders that the country had at the formative stage, the second worst thing that happened to Zimbabwe is that we had the misfortune of having millions of gullible electorate. Universal suffrage in Zimbabwe has been a curse because we gave the vote and the voice to millions who had a loud voice but very little brain. And when you have got a pool of exploitative, corrupt, incompetent leaders willing to exploit those ignorant, naive, and gullible voters, you have a problem. There is no doubt that the big mouths among our electorate are holding the nation to ransom, because the politicians have preyed on them. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. When you have got individuals who are so easily conned, who will believe anything they are told, you have a problem. Here is a typical ignorant, naive, and gullible individual with a big mouth but little brain.
Tirimo mu State House titodya chicken in
Kule.
kudya kwako kwakaprofitwa kare nababa Johani. Ndokudya kwakanzi sapatina kudya kwakanaka kudya kundirozi tiripo paState House unogona kutofa usina kumbosvika paState House asi siripo takatotsika mota dzenza urikone iState House ndopatiri pamba penyika kunamata kwakanaka chipostori chakanaka sapatina tichidya zvedu kudya kwakanaka tiri kutodya pamasowe panapa but tiri kudya nyama imi mukwenyu hazviko asi tiri pano pamasowe paState House nhasi ndo patiri kunamatira nhasi tiri kudya nyama namata mwari uyu akanaka baba Johani wakauya nechinamato ichi kuvanhu vatema wakagona nokuti zvaitwa nevarungu chete asi nhasi uno tisu tiri kuzviita vana vabvudze popi hatina matei wakomana.
There are many people who sacrificed everything. Among other things, that blacks can have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. One man, one vote was the rallying call. And yet, ever since the country's independence, we've lost that right. And when you're talking to individuals like our friend there, Sapatina, he gets a piece of chicken and he forgets his responsibility as a citizen. The ancient Greeks were right. They said that the right to vote should be given to those who are educated, knowledgeable, objective, and they are diligent. Diligent in carrying out the number one task that every citizen has, i.e., to hold those in positions of power and authority to account. We have failed to have that quality electorate. We gave the vote to people who, given a piece of chicken or a t-shirt or a cap, will do anything you want. On the other extreme, we have also given the vote to individuals who are easily conned. How many times have the likes of Chamisa conned the people of Zimbabwe to participate in flawed elections, even when they've been warned that the election process is flawed, and that if you participate, you give the process legitimacy. And yet these people have participated again and again on the basis of an idiotic lie, such as, I have plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. Hashtag God is in it. And some people believed it. This is the problem we've got to admit to ourselves. 2 million people believed Chamisa's idiotic lie in 2023. And they participated in the flawed elections. The day after voting, Chamisa himself was the one complaining that the election had been rigged. And those 2 million voters, yes, they believed him. But guess what? They've refused to accept that, that Chamisa lied to them, which is, of course, nonsense. But that is the problem we have had with universal suffrage. We're giving the vote to people who cannot be honest with the truth, who cannot even accept themselves that yes, they were cheated. Yes, Chamisa lied to them. Yes, Chamisa conned them to participate in flawed elections. And as long as we've got this pool of voters who can easily be conned and made to do something so foolish as voting to perpetuate the dictatorship and their own suffering, we have a problem. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
No, what scares me the most is the amount of similarities between Zanu PF and the so-called opposition. I mean, I could give you numerous examples, but just a few. Succession battles. Both sides. They failed to do it. Centralized power. One man makes all the decisions. Either you're with me or walk away. There's so many similarities that, if we are going to fix an imbalance, we really need to think long and hard on what is the problem right now. Because if we continue doing the same thing and just replacing, individuals with the same mentality, we're not doing ourselves a favor. In fact, we're just going round and round in circles. Zimbabwe is a failed state, no doubt, because of the political imbalance that we have. We basically have airheads leading us, and it just gets worse as we get to the bottom of the pyramid, where now we have people that are so desperate that they are willing to listen to whoever gives them any news or any sight of a hope. But the answer is still the same. And unfortunately for us, we seem to be so blinded by our loyalty to these individuals that we do not even see the answer that has been given. Half the work that we need to do has already been done for us. It's really sad. We are in a very bad state where it seems as if we cannot be helped because we are refusing help. Not because help or people have given up. They have not yet given up, but it is Zimbabweans that are refusing help by listening and belonging to their small little, cliques or parties or whatever, loyalty to certain individuals. I mean, again, you find there is so many similarities. If you speak against Chamisa, you are labeled a Chigananda now or Varakash. If Zanu PF, you speak against them, they will label you, Vatengesi and so forth. Then you can no longer discuss on how to fix the problem with our politics because the debate has been now closed. You can talk politics, but don't talk about our leadership. But the leadership is the problem. And if we cannot talk about that, we cannot fix it. So I believe, Zimbabwe situation is one where we are refusing help rather than there is no help. Help is there, but we are refusing to take it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. Just want to remind the listeners out there that you can join us every evening, 6 o'clock UK time and 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. And on Saturdays and Sundays, we are having a discussion where it's open and you are free to join us. And you can join us on that link that's at the bottom of your screen there. And it's again 6 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Zimbabwean time. And this Saturday, we'll be specifically talking about the events in Tanzania and how they affect us. To conclude tonight's program, we started with a quotation from the bishop, the Catholic bishop in Nigeria, who was pointing out that there's something wrong with our education system because we seem to end up with a situation where the smartest are being ruled by the corrupt and incompetent and utterly useless. I believe that he has got a point, but the main reason why this has happened is because we have got an electorate. We have given the vote to an electorate that is gullible, naive, and ignorant. And when you have got the politicians, the leaders, who are only there to exploit the nation, that is a dangerous cocktail. And in Zimbabwe, that is exactly what we have. And this is why some countries like Botswana, South Africa, we had the founding fathers with a vision, have got a working system. Whereas we in Zimbabwe, we had the misfortune of having the founding fathers who had no vision. And even the second chance, when we had the chance to end this Zanu PF dictatorship and had the second bite at the cherry in the form of the MDC CCC leaders, they too have turned out to have no vision, corrupt, incompetent, and utterly useless. And so universal suffrage for Zimbabwe has been our worst case. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.